The holidays are almost upon us, and here to join us in our festive cheer is Jayson Napolitano, owner of Scarlet Moon Productions and quite possibly the most knowledgeable person in the VGM world. We reminisce about his company's many musical releases of the last year, but start with something seasonally appropriate, the Scarlet Moon Christmas albums. I'm Brian Kelly, and thanks for joining us for A Christmas at the Roost.
Yeah, so when we first started the label, basically, I'm a huge fan of Christmas music. Dale North, who's one of the composers on our roster, and a friend, also is really into Christmas music, and he usually does a annual like Christmas remix. And sometimes it's a game music track in Christmas style, sometimes it's his own version of a Christmas classic. And I said, oh, well, let's see if anyone else is into Christmas music on our Scarlet Moon artist side, which is our representation group. And that year we had 2 tracks from Dale. I did a track, which is pretty rare, and Gumin Nam, who is our Korean composer, did an incredible version of Fisherman's Horizon from Final Fantasy VIII. And it turned out Vince DiCola is also a big Christmas music fan, so he did he had kind of a back catalog of Christmas tracks that hadn't been released, so we took one of those and put it on the album. No, that year we included Christmas Adventure from Saturday Morning RPG, which was actually just a Christmas medley he'd written at one point. So that was the first EP, and then I think we took a year off, and then must have been 2016 at that point, I think we did we called it Scarlet Moon Christmas 2016, or Scarlet Moon Christmas Album 2016. Right. And, I opened the invitations to everyone on our roster. And so what I've done kind of every year is kind of gone through and invited our entire talent roster, plus composers who are kind of like, I call them kind of auxiliary or kind of extended network talent, like composers that we work with that aren't listed on the roster. And then also anyone that I've done PR work for throughout the year, anyone who I've, like our graphic designers over the years have been musicians also. So just kind of anyone throughout the year that we worked with, I kind of invite them, and it becomes a Scarlet Moon and Friends kind of thing. So, so we did that pretty much every year since. And, I guess it kind of can get boring when you have... So it's fun because if you even look at scarletmoon.com/Christmas, which is the hub for our series, you go back and you have Scarlet Moon Christmas Album 2016. Well, when we tried to do Scarlet Moon Christmas Album 2017, I was told that you can't call it album, or you couldn't put the year in it. It's like, I don't know how it got through, but it somehow got through on the previous year. So anyway, we've kind of retroactively called Scarlet Moon Christmas Album 2016 Volume 1. And we've just done volumes since then. And I do worry about people just like saying, oh, it's just another volume of Christmas music. And it's, we're going to catch up to Final Fantasy soon. And, so, but anyway, that's what we do every year. It's different kind of talent. It's our kind of core roster. And some of the people who've been on it over the years as either our roster or guests, I mentioned Vince DiCola. We've had Hiroki Kikuta, who did a track one year. We had Robin Miller, who was one of the co-creators and composer of Myst.
That's awesome.
He did a Myst track on the 2016 album. And we've had... Stemage has done some amazing Christmas tracks. One year he did a kind of bubble bobble, old-timey vinyl recording.
I heard that. Yes, that was so cool.
He did an Alvin and the Chipmunks one last year. And we've had Norihiko Hibino did a track one year. Let's see. We got Hunter Bridges, who was on 2 years ago, and this year he's the audio director over Evening Star. and we had let's see, this year was exciting. We have probably the talent I'm most excited to have on one of these albums is this. There's an artist called Mojera, and nobody knows who Mojera is. It's a unit comprised of composer Mitsuro Suzuki and vocalist and guitarist Non. So nice. Mitsuro Suzuki is a Japanese composer who works at a very large Japanese video game developer. And just this year worked on one of the biggest RPGs, the JRPGs of the year. And I'm being intentionally vague because, this track is by Mojera and it's not associated with his company that he works for. But look at Mitsuro Suzuki and see why I'm so excited to have him on this album. He's worked on some games at this company in the past that were kind of set in a Christmas setting, kind of a wintry setting. And in the few other games he's worked on, he's kind of always done these tracks that fit the Christmas mood. He contributed pretty heavily to the Square Enix Christmas music collections that they put out. So I knew he was a big fan, and he and I have been in touch. And Mojera is just launched their debut album this year. It's called Overkill. I recommend checking that out. It's a really good album.
Oh, nice.
And so I just thought I would throw it out there since he and I had talked. Again, I worked with him this year. That I'd reach out and say, hey, we do this Christmas series. I know you're into Christmas music. Would you be interested in participating? And he was. So he arranged Paul McCartney's Wonderful Christmas Time, which is probably the best version of the song I've ever heard.
That's cool.
And then we also had Gene Makovsky join us for the first time. He's mostly known for film music. And he did a track from The Messenger. So it was as always, a kind of eclectic, fun bunch of Christmas music. And, we'll just keep doing it every year. And, some years it's more like an EP. You might get a handful of tracks, and sometimes it's more like an album. But over the course of time, we'll have a full many hours of holiday music that you can throw on. And
I was listening to some Christmas music in the car today, and the thought struck me that Christmas is really a special cultural event because I feel like it's the one mainstream cultural event that has a musical canon built around it. That's almost this public domain that everyone's working on together. And I think that's really cool, especially for something like you run, where it's also cross-cultural. So these Japanese composers kind of know about it, and then the American composers and the European composers, everyone has that shared sense that they can draw from, and that's a really cool way to bring everyone together around something.
That's a good idea. I hadn't thought of that. I've actually been mulling around this year and previous years doing a Halloween series because I'm really into Halloween as a holiday, and I have a Halloween playlist that has some game music on it. You have the popular songs like Thriller and Ghostbusters. It's nothing to the degree of how much Christmas music there is, but I do have I have a lot of game stuff on there, like a lot of dungeon themes and.
Yes. No, there's a lot of creepy music in the history of games. You could get something going on there. Yeah. But it's really cool. I am looking forward to downloading more of these. And
so you haven't checked out this? Did you check out this year's volume yet? Did you get to listen to it all?
I was looking through it. I haven't listened to all of it yet. I was actually going through some of the older ones too. The Sleigh Ride in Dreamland really stuck out to me from this most recent one. Basically, the classic sleigh ride song, but not only with the style of Kirby music, but in a lot of the samples from Kirby music. So it just sounds, it's just such you take the most joyous series of music and then combine it with sleigh ride, and you have quite a recipe there.
Oh yeah, I had to keep asking him. So there is no Kirby reference in the song, right? This is completely.
I don't think so.
There's no Kirby in it.
Yeah,
there's no Kirby. There's no Kirby. I had to keep asking because I wanted to be sure we were paying the licensing, royalties correctly. But yeah, so the two volume 3 that he featured on as well. He did a Santa Claus is coming to town in the style of a Pokemon battle theme. And so there's the kind of Game Boy version and then kind of a more modernly produced version of it on that album. and it's
Right.
also a blast. It's really clever.
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So what's the one that you did?
On the very first EP, I did a Christmas arrangement of Troy and Beauty from Final Fantasy IV, which I think is Uematsu's finest composition, followed closely
Right.
by Fisherman's Horizon.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the track that I did. I actually had to have Mustin, who does all the engineering for Scarlet Moon and is also heavily on this album series. I had to have him chart the notes for me, not for the melody, but for that background harp, the descending harp thing in Troy and Beauty. I had to have him chart that out for me because I just couldn't figure it out. And so with that, I was able to kind of run with it. It's a little repetitious. I'm not, I'm not an arranger. I'm not a musician, but I wanted to do it. I tried to do one this year of one of Dale's tracks, but I needed him to chart some notes for me, and he wasn't really available to do that. So maybe I'll do it next year. And he was supposed to be on the album this year too.
Right.
He just got too busy, and I was like, all right, well, it's time. We got to cut. We're working on these albums in like September, October.
Right.
So that we can have it done by the beginning of November, because if you want to make Black Friday, you really have to get it in. You have to get it in like early November, because it can get caught up in all kinds of delays and quality reviews and all kinds of stuff for the holidays. So I was really excited. Mustin asked me this year what track he wanted, if I had any requests. And the fact that Mystical Ninja was released on vinyl this year means that you can officially, kind of do a compulsory license with it. So,
interesting.
Yeah, I said, how about, I gave him a list of like 20 songs from Mystical Ninja that I love. It's such a good soundtrack. And he picked Invasion of the something spirits. Is it just Invasion of the Spirits?
Invasion of the Evil Spirits.
There you go. And he turned it in Invasion of the Christmas Spirits. It's a song that you hear right at the beginning of the game. So anyone who's kind of played it a little bit would have experienced this song. And I'm so excited that this is available, that you might be hearing it on other releases coming from Scarlet Moon in the near future.
Wow. So I'm curious, how does that work with the licensing? Games that haven't been released as soundtracks can't be licensed, or what is it?
So it's kind of like this whole U.S. copyright law thing, and different people you talk to have different interpretations of what they think is quote safe.
Yeah.
So here's an example. So technically, if it's been released in the U.S., you can proceed with a compulsory license. They can't stop you. You can say it's released. I'm able to cover it as long as I, pay you the royalties. And that the royalties are statutory. So you've probably heard if it's less than 5 minutes, you pay, whatever it is. It's like 9 cents, 9.1 cents. And if it's over 5 minutes, you pay like 1.2 or 1 point something cents per minute.
Interesting.
And then you pay that per theme. So if you're doing like an 8-minute medley, it can add up pretty quick, because you're paying it for, even if you just reference a bar.
And are you doing that per sale on it? Is it like a percentage?
per distribution, per sale of that piece.
Oh, so that would, if you had a whole album of medleys, that would add up pretty quickly.
Yeah, so you look at some of the Material Collective things, and that are these massive albums. I think they kind of negotiate something different from the statutory rate. And you can negotiate something different if the rights holder's willing to negotiate with you. Of course. Good luck getting, somebody at Nintendo to talk to you. So anyway, so that's the deal, is it has to be released. I'd been told at one point that it had to have been sold. It can't be like it was an included bonus. But kind of the prevailing wisdom right now with people that I talk to is that it just has to have been released. So all the Nintendo CDs that they've packed in, technically they say you can include that stuff. So if it's been released in Japan, that doesn't count. And it gets really complicated because, there's examples of things like, we did Metal Gear Solid 3 on Prescription for Sleep Game Music Lullabies Volume 2. And that CD is not, that music hasn't really been sold on like iTunes, or maybe it was at some point. But anyway, they brought that CD to E for All Expo in 2006 or 7. and they sold it there. It was the Japanese CD, but they sold it at this event. So it's like you would kind of have to know, like, I was at this convention and the Japanese company brought over all these Japanese CDs.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so there's that. And then, sometimes the companies have a rights kind of management company that deals with the licensing. So you just deal with that company. Sometimes the companies will work with you. Sometimes they don't, and you just basically have to hold on to that money. And if someone ever comes asking for it, you have to be able to cough it up. So it's complicated, and I don't understand it all. But I try to be careful because I don't want there to. But on the other hand, all the Disney music, like, so I wanted to do. I was kind of thinking maybe it would be fun to do like a Disney cover album.
Yeah.
And but I was told that even though you can proceed with a compulsory license, they can still decide to sue you.
Oh man!
And if you had infinite money to fight Disney, you might win. But I think they have deeper pockets than you, so they have the ability to shut you down.
Yep. I remember like when I first kind of paid attention to the whole like copyright thing around games, especially in Japan, was when I went to Video Games Live back probably, this is probably back in like 2011, something like that. One of the early shows. And they were doing their Kingdom Hearts segment, and they're like, we cannot play footage from the game because Square doesn't want us to. So we're going to play this footage from Disney movies instead. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. And that was like my first kind of realizing how much of a thing that all was.
Yeah, and, when you get into synchronizing music to video and video rights and all that, it gets way more complicated. Like, there is no compulsory license that you proceed with.
Yeah.
You have to get the permission or you just can't.
Yeah. So going back to the Christmas stuff, what are there other like video game Christmas albums you enjoy around this time of year? Because I was thinking for myself, one thing that I thought was cool about finding your stuff is I haven't seen a lot of it. I don't know if you ever saw the one from Big Giant Circles. He released like an EP of Christmas music several years ago, so that's always on my playlist. But I haven't found a lot of like chiptune or video game stuff that's specifically Christmas before.
I'm scrolling through my list right now, and no, I have not heard Big Giant Circles. I know that T-Lopes just released a little EP this year.
Ooh, I got to check that out.
Chops. Yeah,
nice.
I have it open on my web browser. I haven't actually listened to it yet.
Yeah,
it's kind of like it just stays in my web browser until I get tired of looking at it. I'm like, okay, I'll buy it.
I know the feeling. Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm scrolling through. I see a big pile of Dale North songs that he's done his annual stuff. I see a lot of stuff that I've pulled from individual video games.
Yep.
I basically went through my playlist and did a search for Christmas, winter, ice, chill.
There's a lot of ice music in games. Yeah.
So I there's like, it's fun. Like there's actually covers of Christmas classics in some games. Natsu, I was telling you about, did the Fisherman's Horizon. Like he did on his Bar Oasis soundtrack, he did a cover of Silent Night.
Oh, interesting.
And
that's cool.
Sound Temp did in Ragnarok Online, had several Christmas songs in the game. Here's one that I like. I mentioned this earlier, actually.
Yeah.
Xmas Collection music from Square Enix.
Oh, right.
All right, they got that. That was how many tracks? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 tracks.
Yeah.
And let's see.
When was that? Was that an old album, or
that
is
was
that
in
like
the 2000s?
Okay, gotcha.
And then they had Xmas Collection 2 from Square Enix. And this one has a gorgeous Chrono and Marl epilogue to Dear Friends from Chrono Trigger by Kenichiro Fukui, who used to work there. He's the Einhander composer.
That's great.
And they had, let's see, that's probably my favorite. They have Yuzo Koshiro did Rydia. He did an arrangement of Rydia from Final Fantasy IV on that album.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. Oh, that sounds awesome.
And then Suzuki-san, who I mentioned was on our album this year, he did Joy to the World, which was from...
Oh, cool.
What game was that from? That might have been... I think it was in... the game I was alluding to that he had worked on that had holiday themes was a Parasite Eve game. And so nice. So I guess I kind of said what company he works for. And then
people can triangulate the answers here.
And then they had a Christmas collections, Bravely Default, which was just a Bravely Default.
Oh, really? Album. Was that Revo, or what was the or was that like remixes?
It looks like all the Square Enix people kind of contributed. Actually, so this is interesting. So Suzuki was not on this one, but they had Junya Nakano, who did Brave Fencer, Musashi. They have a bunch of people I don't recognize. They have Tsuyoshi Sekito, who's at Square Enix and has done a bunch of Kingdom Hearts and other stuff. Yamanaka, who does a lot of the synthesizer operation at Square Enix. They got Sakuraba on here.
Interesting.
And Koshiro again is on here. And So it's funny because so those are the three, and they're all from Square Enix. And it's fun because it's they're just in a playlist with all this other stuff. So they just happen to come up while I'm in the middle of all these other Christmas songs and things. So
that's cool.
Half the time I don't even know that it's from Bravely Default or whatever it is. It just happens to come up in the playlist. And
that's great.
Yeah, that's all I have. That's interesting. Scarlet Moon and Square Enix.
Yeah,
two kind of go-tos.
We got the West and the East there doing their things for Christmas.
Is it on? Let me see. It says iTunes Japan. It says Square Enix online store. This is the Bravely Default album. Let me see if it's still in stock. It looks like it's still in stock. You can get it for $30 if you want the actual CD. And recently they put a bunch of their stuff on iTunes and Spotify.
Yes.
So I wonder.
I was noticing that.
I'm somebody. I still purchase all my music.
Wow, you're old school. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily. I'm actually shifting over a lot now to, I'm shifting over a lot to digital purchases, but I do purchase it, and so I don't have a Spotify subscription. I don't have an Apple Music subscription. I never have, and so it's actually kind of I feel like it makes me listen to what I purchase.
Yes, absolutely.
I kind of have to, I want to get my money's worth. So then I kind of listen to it a lot. And, the way Apple Music, formerly the iTunes app, organizes your music is, recently added. Yeah. So you end up, listening to the stuff you recently added.
I do.
Lot.
Yeah.
I feel like if you have a streaming service, you might go listen to something, and then that's kind of it. You might listen to it for a few days.
Yes.
And so I'm kind of worried about that, but I am getting close to signing up for some streaming service. But
I mean, they are incredibly convenient. I've been using Apple Music for I don't know a couple years now, but I know what you mean in that it makes the music listening experience like even a little more like the internet was already making it transient, but now it's becoming even more transient, and that lack of buy-in can kind of make you think, oh, well, there's always more music out there, so I always need to move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And there's not there's not as much of that close listening. Like you said, when I would buy an album before, I'm like, okay, this album really deserves my attention now. I've sunk some cost into this, and I do think there's value to that.
Yeah, and I'm one of these probably like a dozen people left in the world who pays for iTunes Match.
I do that, yes. You do? Because I have a lot of local music that I want on my phone.
$30 a year.
Yeah, totally. And, you and me keeping that service alive, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've been saying for probably the last decade that, or I guess Match probably has been around about a decade.
Yeah.
They've been saying for the last 3 or 4 years that Match is there's no reason for them to continue offering Match.
I know.
And that they've been saying for just as long that they're going to get rid of purchases on the iTunes store. They're going to get rid of the iTunes store. That it's just going to be the Apple Music.
Yeah.
And that you're not going to be able to buy it. They want music as a service now. They don't want music as a product.
Yeah. that's an interesting shift. I'm just like, but I still have all these CDs I ripped and all of these like physical purchases I made in iTunes that I have not been able to find a music app that offers the amount of flexibility and control that Apple has. I don't know why it's not out there, but I don't even use an iPhone and I still use Apple.
Well, I ended up buying for my stereo system here a CD player. So that I can play, if I'm sitting here listening to the digitized music in my office, I may as well just listen to the higher quality CD music in my office.
Yep.
And I think I've probably turned the thing on like 3 times.
Yeah.
So it's a bummer, It's like, I have all this vinyl here, and I was
about to ask.
Crappy old RC, what is it? RC. What was the brand that Radio Shack had?
Oh, dang.
I want to say RCA, but isn't that a type of... No, it's RCA. I'm looking at it right now.
I think
RCA
you're right.
turntable here that my parents had in the garage. It's like... I think I've used it... It's hooked up, but I've mainly used it for testing. Like when we did the Saturday morning RPG vinyl, I got a test pressing and I had to listen to it.
Yeah.
But I've had in my list to buy list like a $500 turntable.
Yeah.
And I'm like tempted to do it, but I mean I have so much stuff. It's just it's the same thing with the CDs. It's like I'm not gonna consistently go listen to it. So I don't know.
Yeah. Do you publish your stuff on Spotify or streaming, or is it all to purchase the Scarlet Moon stuff?
No, all of Scarlet Moon's catalog is on most platforms.
Okay.
It's on Apple Music. It's on every one that you would probably be able to name.
Okay.
Yeah, we have an aggregator that distributes it everywhere. So.
Oh, nice. That saves a lot of time then. Yeah. That's interesting. But yeah, I know what you mean about the purchasing. It's interesting to see what direction the music industry is going. And I still wonder, like, I don't know if you're seeing any of this, but like if this whole streaming system is sustainable from an artist point of view. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's... so here's the thing. So like we have our Prescription for Sleep series.
Yeah.
And, I've kind of talked about it as music as a lifestyle. Game music as a lifestyle, specifically. And so I think that's... I don't think people care or hear what I have to say, or I don't have a big enough audience that anyone hears that and says, oh, yeah, Jayson said this thing, and it's really true. I just think people have found it and live that without me having said it. So I got my 2020 year wrapped. You see all these people posting, blah blah blah. And so they have Gentle Love, who's the duo that does all the Prescription for Sleep stuff with us, is that's the only thing they really do. And they had 5 million streams in 2020.
Yeah,
and that's when you look at people posting stuff, that's it's a lot.
Yes.
And you hate to compare and whatever, but then we have other artists on the roster who are kind of up and coming indie game composers working on a lot of stuff, or even kind of established veteran Japanese composers that we work with, and they might have less streaming. So for an indie game composer putting out your soundtracks, you're not making any money.
Yes.
On music, because and this is the thing with producing albums too, is that you used to be able to, you'd say, okay, I'm going to print this CD run. It's 1,000 CDs. Going to spend $4,000. I guess that's a lot, but we've done some premium collector's edition things. It's going to cost me $4,000, and I'm going to sell 400 CDs in the first month. And I've paid for the print run, and I'm good. Versus now, it's like I'm gonna do 1,000 CDs, I'm going to pay $4,000, and you sell 100 CDs to the people who really, really want it.
Yeah.
And then the rest is, okay, well, now I have to wait for 5 million streams a year for, 5 years until I recover my cost. So everything that you do there's kind of a delayed break-even point. There's a longer tail to the revenue that comes in. So that's good in a sense. Mm-hmm. But in terms of that initial investment of what you're going to spend to produce something, you're looking at a longer time to break even, or it's a longer investment. So it's definitely different, and I don't see how I've released and I've promoted soundtracks that are for smaller indie games, and they get on a couple websites, and it's sad. I mean, you've seen this. You see this all the time. You go on Bandcamp, and you look at it tells you who's purchased the album, right. You see that, and some people have I've done this, so I'm sure you have too. Mm-hmm. You keep clicking the more, right? Like how many people have bought it, and you click more, and you scroll down, and you click more, and you scroll down, and you click more, and you scroll down, and you're like, God, this many people bought the Celeste and Shovel Knight soundtrack. And then you go look at, which the Shovel Knight soundtrack is name your price. Right. So I mean, and but then everybody who buys a copy of the physical game gets a code too. So that's less likely. But anyway, then you go look at some indie game soundtrack that maybe you thought was pretty cool, and it has 2 rows, of customers on there, and so they made a grand total of maybe they netted $6 from per sale, and they got like $100 from their sales on Bandcamp, and is that soundtrack going to get a lot of play on Spotify? I mean, probably not. And maybe you'll get lucky and you'll have a big hit 5 years from now, and then people will be very much interested in your first game soundtrack that you did 5 years ago, and people will start listening to it. But and that's not to say that before all this digital stuff that you could have put out a CD and people would have bought it. But it just seems like there's so much more volume and accessibility to music now that that it just dilutes everything out. And
it's the double-edged sword of lowering that barrier to entry.
So I mean, we're pretty fortunate that we have this series that, again, is kind of game music as a lifestyle. It's really funny because I remember last year I posted it, and it kind of does these funny things where it'll be like, oh, well, the example was that it told you the time of day that you got the most streams. And it just happened to work out, right? Because it was a sleep series. People are listening to your music most between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m.
I did that a lot. Yep.
So, in that sense, it was kind of like, oh yeah, I think I posted on social media that year, like, oh, it looks like people are doing it right. And, I think we might actually be at 10 hours. No, maybe it's 8 hours. Maybe I was trying to hit 8 hours so you can get your full 8 hours of sleep with the series. But the thing is too, some of the series has kind of gone into a more jazz.
I remember that in some of the later ones.
As opposed to sleep. And I've been talking to Hibino-san, and I really want to get back to the sleep kind of core. And his stance on it was, well, gosh, I didn't think anybody would want to hear game music jazz. Wow. So he was like, oh, well, it seems like people have kind of accepted this.
Yes. That is something I think is really cool about Scarlet Moon, is that you all, like you say, game music is a lifestyle. You're taking the idea and the composers of game music and bringing it into other places. Like, well, here's your jazz lullaby. Here's your Christmas music. Like, here are other styles of music people go to, and infusing that with games. And I think that crossover, especially as we're getting more and more people who grew up with games now, going on to the rest of their lives, it's really cool to be able to infuse those other styles with the game music.
Yeah, I've been really wanting to do I can't figure out what to call it, but like a prescription for sweat.
Yep. Workout music.
workout music, whether it's like
that'd be perfect.
rock or electronic or both.
Yes.
Kind of thing. Like
that would be great. You could like list the BPMs of the songs so people know what they're getting into, and that
that's
would
smart. But I couldn't come up with I couldn't come up with like a good name.
Yeah. There's got to be one out there. No, that's a really good idea. I've created a lot of my own personal playlists for that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I would love.
I have that for sure. It's like you put all the battle music on there.
Yep.
There's a lot of great game music that fits, but so that's kind of what I've been thinking about. But it's like there's just not enough hours in the day. Like I already typically tend to bite off more than I can chew as it is. So I really want, I have the Prescription for Sleep series, and I think we're at like 10 albums now.
Oh my gosh, that many now? Jeez.
God, it's scarletmoon.com/sleep.
Okay.
And let me see. I'm kind of curious. I always get confused because we did a remaster of the first album because we found that it was mixed a lot lower volume than the rest. So if you were trying to put it all in a playlist together, it didn't really work well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and if you include the remaster, that's 10.
Wow.
And so there's 3 albums in the work right now.
Oh man.
Yeah, one of them was supposed to be out by now, but we had some hiccups, and so we just recorded 2 last month, and I'm really looking forward to getting the mixes from Hibino Song. Because what ends up happening is I get the unmastered mixed music from Hibino, and I listen to it for like 2 months, and then like 4 months later I get the masters, and then then we start working on the release, and like I've already been listening to it for like a year.
Yeah.
By the time that happens, and so that's always there's a lot going on there. There's all the indie game soundtracks for everything that we work on, that we publish. There's a Christmas album every year.
Yep.
I really want to turn our guitar. Did you hear our Guitar Collections Final Fantasy IV album?
I think I missed that. When was that?
Probably 2 years ago, 3.
I did not.
So you're familiar with William Carlos Reyes?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, he's one of the guitarists for the One Ups.
Okay, yeah.
And he's a classically trained guitarist. Mm-hmm. So I had him. I actually really wanted him to do a guitar. What would you call it? A duet or a trio? I really wanted him to limit it to some sort of number of guitars that you could do a performance with.
Yeah.
And he said, it's just going to be so limiting. You might not be completely satisfied. There might not be a fullness to it that you're looking for. Mm-hmm. So I just told him, okay, do whatever artistically you think is best. So I think you would need 5 guitar players to play some of the songs.
Oh, wow.
But we did Final Fantasy IV classical guitar arrangements, and it's called Guitar Collections Final Fantasy IV. It's supposed to be in the style of piano collections. Because I prefer the sound of the guitar to the piano. Yeah. So I really want to turn that into a series, and
right.
The Final Fantasy IV album, we spent a lot of money on it, and it didn't do very well. So it's one of those things, and I want to say that this is always the case. And that sometimes you just have to do a number of them, and then people are like, "Oh, hey, I saw this new one. Oh, there's a whole series. Oh, I'm really into this."
Absolutely.
So sometimes you just have to keep going. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping to do another one of those. So then it's like, what's left? Like, do I have time to do a Halloween album and a gym album?
Especially once you start turning things into series. But like you said, that's often how you make something lasting. So like, it's the trade-off you take, because you can only have so many series going at once. But
well, my kids are really, they're aware. They're under 10, my kids, and my oldest is 8, and he's really kind of cognizant of the Sleep series, and because every night, this is so if anyone wants to know the album that I listen to most often, it's every night when the kids go to bed. It's Alexa play. Oh, now Alexa's going to go off now. Alexa, how can I turn her off? I'll have to tell her to stop afterwards. I'll say, hey, cancel. I'll say, hey, you, play Prescription for Sleep game music. Or you have to say it this way. Play the album Prescription for Sleep game music lullabies. No, sorry, that's not what I say. Play the album Prescription for Sleep Lullabies of Mana. That's the one I tell them to play all the time. Yeah, so that's the one that they sleep to. They've all played. They've actually been playing. Most recently, they've been playing the remake on PlayStation 4. Oh yeah, 3-player.
Oh, that's
cool.
So
it was kind of like I was always excited to have 3 kids because then they could play Secret of Mana.
Yeah, that's the primary reason. Yep.
Yes, and so they finally they're finally at an age where they can do that. Yeah, and the youngest one's 4, so she's always screwing them all up and getting them killed. But and the remake, by the way, was there used to in the original Super Nintendo one, you could kind of do this like last minute save where like if you started a heal process after getting the fatal blow, you would still come back. Yeah. But in the remake, they got rid of that, so it's like if you got so. It's a lot harder and it's a lot of bugs.
A little more punishing. Oh no.
But anyway, so they're pretty aware of it, and my son's like, I actually just told him recently, I said, I get to pick all the songs on these albums, and so he was kind of amazed by that. And they were all big Shovel Knight fans. Oh, so they were really excited. Undertale, I played Undertale with them.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So they know like all these games, and they know they know the lullabies. And it's funny when we listen to, if it comes on, sometimes I'll put it on in the car, which I don't recommend. And they're up there screaming right now. I'm probably going to get all of this on the recording.
Nice cameos,
Yeah, they will, if I play it in the car or something, they'll say, why are you playing sleep music?
That's a good point. They got you there.
Yeah. Well, I always thought it would be fun, to have...
a road trip.
Do not operate heavy machinery while under the influence of Prescription for Sleep.
Yep.
Kind of thing. And did I ever tell you? I've talked to you enough times. Yeah. That I probably did tell you the story about how we came up with the name.
I think you did, but let's go for it again because I can't quite remember.
So I wanted to call it. Did you play the original Metal Gear?
Yeah. A little bit.
Okay, so do you remember the original Metal Gear? There's the first enemy you fight. Okay. And he's on like the first or second screen. Yeah. He says, I feel asleep.
Yeah.
So I wanted to call, and given that Hibino-san is known for, Metal Gear Solid series, I thought it would be fun to call the series I Feel Asleep.
That's a good name. Yep.
But, it just seemed kind of not serious, right?
That is fair.
And so, and I didn't know if anyone would get it either. Yep. But it was fun. And so, Hibino-san already had this Prescription for Sleep. He has an album called Prescription for Sleep it's like chamber music and really kind of relaxing. And then there was an app. Actually, it was an app first. It was it was like a top-selling app on the iTunes store in the early 2000s. It was an app that you looked at like soothing visuals, and it had this chamber music, and it was supposed to soothe you to sleep, and it was called Prescription for Sleep. And they created a second volume, and they sold it in Malaysia with like a sleep supplement. It was like melatonin.
Oh wow.
And so anyway, I just thought it would be fun to kind of tie into that app and that brand he already had. So you'll see in the copy, all the kind of booklet materials of our albums, it'll say Prescription for Sleep is a trademark of Mission 1. Yeah. And that's used brilliant. With permission. But it was actually Jaron Moore, who you might know from one of the producers of the Symphony of the Goddesses and Pokemon. What is that show called? Pokemon Evolutions, maybe?
That might be it.
I think I was talking to him about what to call it. He said, why don't you call it Prescription for Sleep?
Yeah, it's nice and simple. That's what we got. It gets the message across pretty well.
It could have been, sometimes. Except, it's really to sleep and relax, and some people study to it, some people work to it.
That is a good point, actually. Yeah, especially the more upbeat stuff. Yeah. And that's popular now. Oh my gosh, so many YouTube playlists of like, here is chill Nintendo music to study to, or here's like those kind of playlists are everywhere now.
That's true. Yeah, we should do a chill out series too.
Yeah, that would be good. I was thinking it'd be fun to have like a road trip series, stuff to listen to when driving cross country.
Yeah, nobody does that anymore. Like, there's like.
That's true. It's just me.
Just listen to Bros on the Road from Final Fantasy 15. The entire
yes, game. There you go. Just a whole album of just remixing that. And
you're familiar with the song?
I think so. I did play it a little bit.
Yeah, it's very distinctive. I think it's actually Shota who does the guitar work on that track. He might have even written the track. I don't know, but it's funny. I was in the Philippines a few years ago. We recorded an episode one year when I was in the Philippines.
I remember that. Yeah.
I was in the Philippines a couple of years ago, and I was driving through town.
Yeah.
And on the radio, there was a mechanic shop that came on. It was their commercial, and Bros on the Road was the background music for this commercial.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible! You got it. Don't let Square Enix know.
They're never gonna, whoever, some random guy, who's probably not even in business anymore.
Yeah.
In the Philippines.
That's amazing.
It was cool. Yeah, I posted it, I think, on social media, and Shota and Falk, who worked on it as a part of the soundtrack, were like, "Oh yeah, hey, yeah, we did some work on this song."
That's so cool. All right. So, anything else Scarlet Moon's up to these days, or did we cover it all?
Let me see. Oh, yeah. So I'm just pulling up our Bandcamp page.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. I had that up as well.
Yeah, so we did Raise the Dead, the soundtrack for the game that was kickstarted, 7 years ago. It has music by Jake Kaufman, Dale North, and a bunch of synthwave composers.
That sounds awesome.
And so it's really cool. And glad to finally have that out. Dale wrote that music probably 4 years ago.
Yep.
And Jake probably wrote his part 5, 6, 7 years ago. And that's just kind of 80s synthwave. It was good. It was a nice Halloween release.
I was about to say, there's that Halloween music you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah. And then we did we finally got this out, Saturday Morning RPG 2. And so this was a fun release where, the developer of Saturday Morning RPG is this studio called Mighty Rabbit Studio. Mm-hmm. And one of the guys there, Josh Fairhurst, he is one of the co-founders of Limited Run Games.
Okay.
So, they've been immensely successful. And so they did a limited edition physical run of Saturday Morning RPG. And he said, wouldn't it be fun to just do like this kind of promotional... We want to do a cassette tape that is the soundtrack for Saturday Morning RPG 2, which is a game that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But, it'll exist through this tape.
Right.
And so we did the tape, they did the run, the tape was included. They wanted the music to be written as if it were a sequel. Because, the first game, Vincent Kenny wrote the main theme, and then most of the other music was from their licensing library. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't specifically written for Saturday Morning RPG, even though it's really fitting. And so this music was written specifically as if it were for Saturday Morning RPG. So that was exciting. They wrote a battle theme, and they did a reprise of the title theme.
Right.
Taking it past 30 seconds, which I think is what they did for the first game. And so that music existed only on a cassette tape until now.
Aha! And now it's available
so now it's digital and people can hear it.
That's cool.
We did the Dreamscaper soundtrack. This is a very gorgeous...
Oh, it's very cool. Yeah.
Roguelite. Yeah, you've been checking it out maybe. Oh, yeah. I think we're going to... You might be talking to Dale at some point.
Yeah, we were working on that, so I listened to the whole soundtrack, and he has a very distinct sound for this game.
Yeah, he pitched him on this sound. He had an idea. He knew what he wanted it to sound like. Mm-hmm. And this soundtrack is actually for the early access release.
Okay.
And as the game gets updated, we are putting new music in, but probably towards the time it releases, we'll update the soundtrack.
That
so
is
you don't
cool.
have to rebuy it. You'll just, re-download
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. You'll just keep getting more stuff.
We'll update the soundtrack, and it'll have all the music in it. And
so now there are early access soundtracks too. This is great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we kind of were like, we were asking like, I kind of hate when people do like, whatever, Dreamscaper soundtrack preview.
Yeah.
And then there's a separate album later that you get that is the full soundtrack. And so we kind of just like didn't do anything with release, and then we're like, crap, everybody's asking us for the soundtrack. So I think this is the easiest way. I think we can just go change the track listing and add tracks.
Yes.
And then just tell everybody, hey, re-download it because now there's more tracks.
Yeah.
I think that's going to work.
A good way to go. Yeah.
I hope that works.
Smart.
So that's that. It was kickstarted, but it's just I don't know if you've seen the game. It's just a gorgeous game.
Yeah, I looked up some footage.
It's going to be a big hit. And then we had Coda did a Horizon Vanguard. This was a fun.
Oh, sweet.
This is a
Coda,
VR hover bike shmup. On rail. Yeah, it's really crazy. And Coda did a really insane kind of like Japanese pop, Japanese fusion.
Oh, I gotta
retro.
listen to this. I love Coda.
If you're into shmups, like you're gonna love the soundtrack that he did for this thing. It's so cool.
Awesome.
So that one's there, and then we did Prescription for Sleep, Wizard of Legend, which is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
We did. This was a really good one. We did Indivisible Original Game Soundtrack Plus.
Okay.
And this is a spin on Square Enix's Soundtrack Plus series. It's all of the versions of songs that we submitted and it got rejected and they had to be changed. So like different versions of songs, ones that were
so it's kind of cutting room floor.
Yeah. Stuff. I mean, it's an extra. The soundtrack I think was 2 hours long.
Jeez.
And I think the Plus album's another 2 hours.
That's awesome.
And so, it has, he wrote kind of an image song for himself when he got started with the game that wasn't in the game. It was just kind of like, let me get ready for it. Yeah. Called Secret of Indivisible. That's the first track on the album. It's really good. The very first demo he wrote for the game. And then again, all these different versions. Some of them have different instruments. Some of them have a different vibe. Some of them are just completely different songs at all that got rejected. Some of them are just like piano sketches. And so on. And so there's all this different. And then there's also the end credits theme that he wrote after the game was released that they patched in. Yeah. It turned out that I guess the original song we wrote for the credits didn't fit the mood that they wanted. So we ended up writing another one. And so that's on here too. Oh, and so the really cool thing about this is just like with the Square Enix series, we have a digital booklet that comes with the album on both Bandcamp and iTunes or Apple. And it has commentary for every single track about what was the difference, what does he think of this version, just kind of like his commentary track by track in English and Japanese. So there's a booklet there that has all the kind of commentary. So we're really excited to have done that.
That's awesome. I really hope we get more stuff like that in the future from composers, like getting the demo tracks and everything. We just never get that kind of look into
Well, there was
soundtracks.
just so much that we knew that it would be terrible if we didn't do anything with that music. I wanted people to hear it. Yeah. And then the last two things I guess I'll mention are we did a physical edition of the Wizard of Legend soundtrack. It's Wizard of Legend, the complete soundtrack, plus Piano Collection's Wizard of Legend. And so it's in it's a cardboard sleeve. It has two jewel cases, one with the Wizard of Legend, the complete soundtrack, which was essentially the soundtrack plus the all the new trailer themes that he wrote for the various updates. Right. Plus the Thundering Keep was a new DLC that had a new level. Nice. So we have that theme and that trailer. And then also we tacked on, you don't even see it on Bandcamp, but there's a extra bonus track that's just exclusive to the CD set. It was basically the Fire Zeal's theme, the Fire Sage. He wrote it, it was done, and then the team decided they wanted to go with a different sound, so we wrote a different song. So basically it was kind of an unused fire theme. that's on the CD. And then the Piano Collections is, again, in the spirit of Piano Collection series from Square Enix. We had Ayaki, who's the pianist for Gentle Love, do piano arrangements and perform just a solo piano album. And we did a sheet music book. So we have the complete set, which is the soundtrack with the bonus track and the Piano Collections album. And then separately there is and then there's a 20-page booklet with that. And then separately we have a full piano sheet music book.
Nice.
For the piano album.
Wow. And then you also had the prescription for Sleep Wizard of Legend. So Wizard of Legend, if you like that soundtrack, boy, there's a lot there.
Yeah, it was really Dale's breakout title.
Yeah.
And so he wanted the Piano Collections album.
Yeah.
And actually for me, I was like, okay, well, Yaki's going to be in the studio recording the piano album. Why don't we just do a Prescriptions for Sleep album, since he's already going to be in the studio anyway, and he's going to be familiar with the music. But I didn't really think about it in my head that, I was still booking studio time and all this other stuff. So I didn't save anything. For some reason I had it in my head like, oh, may as well. Yeah. Since he's already doing it. But it was just kind of like, oh, well, it didn't really. And then there's kind of like one's a solo piano, one's a piano and sax. They're very different. Mm-hmm. But, for people, there might be some crossover between the two. I'm really happy with the artwork on the Piano Collections album.
Yeah, it's really cool.
We had, Dale and I know this when we had our previous lives where we used to write about games. We knew somebody at the PR department at Square Enix. And she served as, she was a PR person, but she also was fluent bilingual Japanese English and did a lot of the translation for like their guests from Japan.
Yeah.
And so she left the company, and I never, I was like, oh, that's really sad that she left. And then found out, just a couple of years ago, it had probably been 10 years, that she's doing art now. And so I was like, oh, I'm very curious. I met her, I ran into her at E3, and I was like, oh, I really want to see your artwork. And so she sent me a link, and I said, oh, this is really cool. And then we were just kind of waiting for the right project to have her do some artwork for. And she goes by Amelia Haru.
Yeah.
And the album cover is just kind of really cute.
It's a beautiful piece. Yeah. Combines a lot of different styles, great use of colors, and it's really beautiful. I hope you can work with her more. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to another opportunity to work with her. So anyway, that's kind of, catching you up. You've been busy. You've been very busy, and man, there's a lot coming. There's a lot coming, and there's so much we could go over since we last talked, but that we need to have you on again much sooner, because man, you're just putting on so much great stuff. So,
well, thank you. Yeah, I think last year was probably even busier, but this year's been plenty busy.
Absolutely.
When did the I'm trying to remember, when did Indivisible Plus even come out? That was probably this year.
It looks like
that was April.
Yeah.
Jeez. So what yeah, I'm looking, just like scrolling back through. It's always interesting to kind of do that and be like, oh yeah, what did we do this year? Even the Piano Collections album came out in January. And the complete soundtrack came out in January. So
Shovel Knight was December of 2019. So
there you go. So everything on the page since then
has been this year.
Xylith was this fun little thing too. This was
we didn't cover that.
I didn't mention. Is it was another soundtrack by Coda, and it's for this like kind of I don't even know how you describe it. It's a procedurally generated, going down into the subterranean depths of the alien planet, and kind of thing, and they wanted kind of like a dynamic soundtrack. So they wanted an exploration layer, they wanted a hazard layer when you're fighting an enemy, they wanted a boss layer when you're fighting a boss, and a safety for when you're in like a kind of like a town hub area.
Right.
And so he wrote all these different layers, and so the soundtrack, the way it's presented is Coda created an 11-minute kind of storytelling version, kind of ranging these layers in different ways, and telling like giving a progression to it. And then you can collect these discs throughout the game that play different songs, and they're kind of completely different from this it's kind of like an atmospheric layered I kind of compare it to Metroid. It's kind of like Metroid, with dynamic music, and then you can collect these discs, which are kind of all these different kind of like poppy and different kind of sounds that you can swap the music in for, kind of like if you were going to play your own music anyway, you can kind of play this other stuff that fitting, but it's there. And so that's all on the soundtrack too, and then all the layers separately if you want to enjoy the layers separately. But cool. Give the track, the first track, Xylith, the 11-minute long experience, a try.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's a really cool.
That sounds really creative. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed hearing him turn out the layers and then hearing him make this 11-minute listening experience of it. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out. I love everything Coda does, so that'll be neat.
I know, right? Yeah, Coda's fantastic.
He really is.
He's working on it's been announced, so
okay.
Yeah, it's been
we're in safe zone.
He's working on Neurodiver.
Okay.
Which is the sequel to Read Only Memories, Read Only Memories Neurodiver is the sequel to Read Only Memories.
Yes.
2060.
Right.
Some years.
Some future year or something.
It might be on my desktop here. No, it only says Read Only Memories.
Right.
But yeah, so it's the sequel to Read Only Memories, and so he's doing a really cool, funky retro soundtrack.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
I really can't wait for people to hear it. It's so good.
Yeah.
He's so talented.
Yes, he really is.
He was on our, and speaking of which, he was on our Christmas album, I think, last year.
Perfect.
He did, these are a few of my favorite, I think it's just called Favorite Things.
Yes, I saw that one. I listened to that because I'm like, Coda, that's awesome. Yeah, I was also really happy to see Funk Fiction, who we've had on the show recently, did a big one for you a little while back.
He's one of the, we work with him regularly, and so I invited him this year, but he was tied up.
Yeah, he's been busy.
An amazing talent, and he is one of the nicest people.
He's so nice. It's always
industry,
so great to chat with him.
I mean, we went. What did we do? I think we went to that Vince DiCola show in L.A. He and I went to, and we try to meet up at every event up in LA because the last thing we did this is right before the lockdown. The stay-at-home orders was in January. We went to it must have been January this year. There was a near orchestral concert in LA.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was funny because the show was produced by Arnie Roth and AWR production, music productions, who you've probably. He's done so many of the different concerts and stuff, and I just kept running into people that like I knew. Yeah. So he's like, "Whoa, you know all these people here." It's like, you just kind of like randomly run into. We ran into Adriana Figueroa and Family Jewels. Oh yeah, that's cool. They're down here in San Diego where I am.
Right, and, that whole area. Yep.
I haven't seen them in a while, and I ran into them at the show.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That was fun.
That's really neat.
It's a small world, game music.
It really is. I mean, it's what I love about MagFest is that's like Funk Fiction is one of the guys I see every time he goes out to MagFest, and that's great. So I got to see him. Man, it was earlier this year.
I think that's where I first met him. I first met him at MagFest.
Yeah, and so that's one reason I always look forward to MagFest, because in Texas here, there's not a lot of game music stuff going on. So MagFest is the biggest time I see everyone. So. Yeah.
Well, you just gotta get out of Texas.
I know. The problem is driving anywhere from Texas takes absolutely forever. So I need to be.
Right. Well, you only have to do it once. Just drive away and never come back.
Oh man.
California.
Oh man,
We're
yeah.
ready for you.
I don't know if I can afford that yet, but I'll work on it.
You mean you don't have this award-winning smash success podcast with millions of listeners and
Oh, totally. Yes, that's absolutely what this
on
is.
Apple Music.
You just don't even want to look at my Patreon with how many of the bucks I am rolling in every month.
If you want to know where I'm going to move, comment below and click the subscribe button.
Like and subscribe, yes, please. And then whatever the most comments are for, I will move there. That's how we're gonna do this.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone do that. So.
Oh, I'm sure if there's an antic, some YouTuber somewhere has done it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure they do like vote. Yeah, but I'm used to hearing this in the context of my kids are watching.
Oh my gosh!
They're watching people play with toys. They're watching adults play with toys.
Yes.
On YouTube. And then it's like,
oh my gosh!
What do you want? Who do you think was behind the door?
Yes.
Comment below.
I've seen some. When I started,
they're gonna see it in 2 seconds, and they're not. They're watching this on like an iPad. They're not going to comment below.
Yeah, kids' YouTube is its whole own weird world. I have only slightly seen.
Well, it's scary. Dale was telling me that like there's videos where it looks like a kid's video, and then all of a sudden in the middle of it, like oh, don't tell your parents about this. Like
it's terrifying.
Yeah, like scary stuff and
yeah. Jeez,
it's the world we live in. It's scary.
It is. We're ending on a positive note here.
That's
I like
why you don't do anything. That's why, just like me, you only buy.
Yes, buy
your
physical
content.
The only YouTube videos you watch, you should buy them for $9.99 on a CD player, and then you can watch the video. Just buy all of your YouTube on VHS, and we'll all be a safer.
I'm surprised they haven't done like get my whole. I assume this has been done. Like, take all the. It's like some streamer probably or whoever.
Yeah,
YouTube
like a DVD collection.
Like, buy my Blu-ray disc collection.
Right. Like the greatest hits of PewDiePie infomercial.
Yeah, there has to be.
Here. Like, yeah, it's got to be out there somewhere, right?
Well, there you go. That's my son's already into all this.
My gosh.
He's watching people play. God, he's really into this Baldi's Basics. I don't even know if you know what it is.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah,
is he into Roblox?
He is into Roblox.
Okay.
And that drives me nuts.
Yeah.
And but this Baldi's Basics thing, it was created to be like this weird 90s inspired 3D game, and the teacher gives you a math problem and you can't solve it, and then he chases you around and tries to smack you with a ruler.
Okay.
And there's all these other gimmicks, like different characters you run into in the hallways that do different things. And it's kind of like this weird, it shouldn't be scary, but it is survival horror because he's chasing you, and it's this weird rudimentary 90s style graphics. And
weird.
So it is kind of, and so now he takes a ruler and he chases his sisters around the house.
Oh my gosh.
And then he watches streamers play Baldi's Basics. Then he draws all the different characters.
Oh my gosh.
When we say he can't be on the screen, he's drawing all the characters, and then he tells me, oh, this character is, Super Bully Man. He's the Kickstarter exclusive for blah, blah, blah. And this guy is, da-da-da. He was the Easter egg in this version of Baldi's Basics. And it's like
I've been amazed, like, when I talk to a kid about, like, what they're into, I'm amazed at how much they know about whatever the thing is. They can just keep going on and on and on about, I don't know if it's Five Nights at Freddy's or Undertale or whatever the thing is. I'm like, how do you know so much about this thing?
Well, the thing is, like, Baldi's Basics doesn't have any music. And I want to say Roblox just has, like, other music, right? It's not... It's like, they just steal music from somewhere and put it in their level that they made.
Yeah.
Or they steal Tommy Tallarico's voice. And,
what?
You didn't hear about that? The whole oof sound?
No, I missed this.
Roblox apparently is...
It's Tommy Tallarico?
It was a sound effect that he made. So he just
announced
incredible. This big deal where he's created his asset pack for Roblox. And,
I love it.
But yeah, I mean, I'm bummed because none of these things even have like music in them. So
that is
versus Undertale has an excellent soundtrack, and
Undertale is an amazing soundtrack.
Right now they're playing. What are they? They're playing. He's playing this game called Witch and Hero on Switch, and it's like it's a retro It's kind of like protect the princess from the waves of enemies kind of game. And it has actually pretty good music.
Yeah.
And Secret of Mana obviously has great music.
Right.
And
well, here can be your next album can be music you can play in the background of Baldi's Basics. Sell it to all the kids out there.
Yeah, we'll do Witch. He'd flip out if we did Prescription for Sleep, Witch and Hero.
Oh yeah, everyone's gonna be like, "Why in the world did he release this?" It's like his son. Oh, okay. Yeah. Now we know.
It's not a bad game. In fact, I actually have to help him with it. It can get a little challenging. I was actually showing him. Are you familiar with Protect Me Knight?
Nope. Are these like tower defense games or what are they?
It's like a tower defense game. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
These games are all tower defense games.
Okay.
Protect Me Knight though was developed by Ancient, which is Yuzo Koshiro's studio. So Yuzo Koshiro did Protect Me Now. Cool. It was like 2004. It was on Xbox.
Okay. Wow.
Xbox Live Arcade or whatever. Yeah. Then they did a second one that I don't think came out here. But
are your
that video?
Do your kids play many like of the main Nintendo releases on Switch, like Paper Mario or anything?
I buy them a lot of stuff, and then they don't really end up playing it a whole lot. They're right now what they're playing a lot of is Kirby's Star Allies.
Oh, okay. That's got a cool soundtrack. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good music. I was just actually sharing that on our Discord the other day. There's some like really funky. There's this really funky song I like on like the Western Outer Wall or something like that. And so it has good music, and my 4-year-old is playing it, and they're all playing it, and
well, that's cool.
Minecraft, of course.
Of course, yeah.
But I think I bought. He watches a streamer play a game. He was watching this Zebra Gamer who has videos on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And he played Rayman Rabbids versus Mario Kingdom, whatever that game was called. And he watched him play it, and so I got it for him for Christmas. It was on sale or something on Black Friday, and like I don't think he ever really played it. Right.
He's like, I already watched that. Why would I play it?
This year I was like, do you want Luigi's Mansion 3? You were watching Zebra Gamer play it? Or, he didn't really... He was really into Super Mario Maker. So I got him Super Mario Maker 2, and he didn't really play it. I think he broke his Minecraft Switch card.
Yeah. Oh. I also like it that, when we were growing up, it was more of like, we would want to play video games, and then parents would be like, oh, why don't you like go outside or play a sport? And now it's like kids are playing video games, and the parents are like, why don't you play this video game? Huh? Why don't you play this? Have good taste. Play this good video game.
Oh, that's the struggle too, is getting them outside. But that's the thing is, he's so obsessed that, like I told you, it's like he wants to play physical.
Basics. Yes,
like he wants to play physical. He's been doing physical Witch and Hero.
Oh man.
He's like, you have to stand here. You have to stand here. You're the witch.
Yeah.
You can't move.
Right.
It's like there's all these rules. And then the worst thing is, you feel like a terrible parent because then your kid goes to school.
Yeah.
And wants to play Baldi's Basics or something, some obscure thing. Yes. Especially when I'm making them play like an old Super Nintendo game.
Right.
They're going to school and saying, I want to play, let's play Secret of Mana. And the kids are like, what the hell are you talking about? What is that?
That's great.
Then you feel bad about, your kid not knowing what the hip thing is. So I guess at least Baldi's Basics and Roblox, at least they all know what it is.
You gotta let them, Fortnite, is that a big thing in your house? I feel like that's a big thing everywhere.
That's probably older kids. The games that they're playing are not big reaction time games.
Oh, that makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not there yet. They'll get there, I'm sure.
Well, maybe by then it'll be something other than Fortnite. I don't know what it'll be, but it'll be something.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever's coming down the pike. Oh, man.
But anyway, so that's... All
right, well, get to feel old a little bit here at the end. That's always nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was a delight, Jayson. Thanks so much for coming on the show and catching us up with everything.
Yeah, it's not often that I get to talk about, it's not often that it's open to be like, hey, tell us everything you've been doing. And we get to give a kind of shine a spotlight on some of the more smaller, maybe more obscure things. So thank you for that opportunity. It's usually like, hey, you just did this one thing. Let's talk about that one thing. So yeah, thank you.